This is a partner Thai massage video for the low legs, feet, ankle, and hips. This is also the recap video for the date night partner Thai massage workshop series. And we started at the low leg. Partner begins supine, face up. Broaden the legs apart so that you can kneel or sit in between your partner's ankles. Focus is on the inner leg line. So we're going to start with the palms, pressing at the groin and at the inner ankle, and palming down the inner thigh and inner calf toward the knee, and then back out. Palm back in, broad hand, not just heel of hand, then cross the knee and palm down to the inner ankle. Next, we're going to use the thumbs to press right next to the inner shin bone. So both thumbs, they kind of chase one another. In this case, my right thumb makes its way up, and then the left. Make contact with the skin, then sink in slowly, and rise up slowly as well. Don't be too sharp. We're using the pad of the thumb. Once you get to the knee, you can gently cross the knee with the thumbs, but we're not pushing really into the bone too hard, okay? Next, trace this line up the thigh. The inner thigh is very sensitive. There's important lymphatic structures and nerves there, so be gentle with your partner and move slowly. Thumbing up. Once again, in this case, my right thumb leads, my left thumb kind of chases. All the way up to the groin. Pause, and then make your way all the way back down. You want to sink into the trenches, as Nefer Jacobson calls them. Not just pushing onto the bellies of the muscles, but again, sinking at the low leg in this case, in between the inner shin bone and the muscle. So we actually want to sink in between muscle structures, all the way down to the inner ankle. You can repeat that line up different lines of the leg, like the middle calf, and more of the middle groin as opposed to the upper portion of the groin once you get to the knee. Next, we work the posterior line of the low leg. In this case, I'm going to come to a seated position, scoop under my partner's inner ankle, extend both of my legs, and bring the ball of my foot underneath the thigh side of the knee. Let my partner's heel come all the way down just inside my thigh. He's supported here. I can use my inner foot to the inner aspect of the knee, but I found I don't need it. I'm going to use both sets of 4 fingers, not the thumb, to compress together at the back of my partner's calf. So my 4 fingers from both hands come together. My thumbs and the thumb portion of my palm counter presses at the front of the shin. So I'm going to pull back, starting at the back of the knee, and gently squeeze all the way down, spreading the 2 heads of the gastrocnemius, which are this bulbous portion of the calf, all the way down to the Achilles tendon. And you can do that up and down 3 or 5 times. I'm just going to do it once for brevity. Lift the foot up until the leg straightens. I transition my outer hand so that my thumb is pushing against the pinky toe side of the bottom of the foot. It's just a really good, strong grip. I straighten the leg all the way, remove my feet from underneath the back of my partner's knee, and bring both legs to the outside of my partner's thigh so I can rest his low leg comfortably on top of both of my legs. Inner hand scoops under the inner heel. Outer hand, heel of hand, comes to the ball of my partner's foot. I'm gonna circle his foot around 3 times outwardly, so push the foot forward and then outward, externally rotate as much as you can, then grip with the fingers, curl the toes forward and then rotate in. Notice how I'm leaning my torso when I do this. When I can't internally rotate anymore, then I push palm against sole of the foot and rotate outward. So that's 3. Now I pause and switch directions. Inward circles, pushing ball of the foot away and then curling toes toward me. 3 times. Give a little push of the foot, and then my elbow comes high, heel of hand to top of the toe knuckles, leverage the elbow down to stretch top of the foot and tops of the toes. Next, outer hand, my inner hand is still supporting back of the heel. I reach around the front of the foot and grip between forefingers and heel of hand the inner aspect of the ball of the foot. I squeeze here and then leverage my elbow back as I turn away from my partner as I turn toward the foot. That's 1. Release to neutral to center. Slide the hand down and grip the upper portion of the inner arch of the foot between forefingers and heel of hand. Twist toward the foot, pull the elbow back, maybe drag across the skin of the bottom of the foot. That's 2. Release to neutral. Third hand position, final hand position of this sequence. Squeeze at the inner aspect of the arch of the foot toward the heel, so closer to the heel. Squeeze and turn. Release to center. Now we make our way back up. So return to second hand position, inner arch of the foot, closer to the ball of the foot. Squeeze and rotate, leverage, pulling elbow back to side body. Release to center. Squeeze at the ball of the foot, slash the big toe a little bit, and turn. Release to center. Switch the hands. Outer hand supports under the back of the heel. Inner hand reaches around in front of the foot, squeezes ball of the foot where it meets the pinky toe. It's not going to be able to turn, the ankle it's not going to turn as much this way, but I still pull my elbow and I turn toward my partner's face and then release facing the foot a bit more. Hand moves down just underneath the ball of the foot, squeeze the outer line between heel of hand and forefingers, turn toward partner's head and release. Third hand position, just above the heel, outer edge of the foot, squeeze, turn to center and release. Second hand position, squeeze, turn and release. And first hand position, squeeze, turn and release. Release both hands from the foot. Use thumbs parallel at the sole of the foot, forefingers counter press at the top of the foot. Lean forward. So I have strong arms. I'm not just leaning my chest with weak arms. Strong arms so that when I lean forward with the strength of my core, I'm transferring a nice, strong, sustainable pressure, and I'm not just wearing my hands out, okay? So up and down, sole of the foot, 2 parallel lines from the heel all the way up to the ball of the foot and then the toes. Lastly, inner hand supports under the back of the heel once again. Outer hand, elbow high, make a space between the thumb and the index finger, and that's where the ankle is gonna go. These 4 fingers are gonna drag up the outer edge of the foot. Okay, so drag all the way to the pinky toe. When you get to the pinky toe, switch to a thumb and either index finger or inner knuckle of the index finger pincher. I'm gonna kind of pinch and maneuver. I'm trying to create movement at all these little joints of the toe. So I like to wiggle it side to side, pinch at the toenail bed, and snap off. Next is the 4th toe next to the pinky toe. Pinch right at the base of it where it meets the foot. Sometimes you get a pop, sometimes you don't. Pinch at the nail bed, snap off. 3rd toe, middle toe. Squeeze where the toe meets the foot. Wiggle worm it all the way down, pinch and snap. 2nd toe next to the big toe, pinch, wiggle, 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 introducing movement at the joint, pinch and snap. And finally the big toe, pinch, move, 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 sliding across the skin, all the way out to the toenail, and snap. give a little stretch, and then push the foot and the leg off of your legs next to partner's opposite leg. Last technique, have your partner lie face down and bring one knee up and out to the side. Knee level with the hip, toes turn out. We're gonna compress the hip and the low back with our forearm. Not the pointy part of the elbow because ow. They call it the proximal fifth, which just means if the elbow and forearm, if the forearm were divided into fifths, it's the fifth that's closest to the elbow. So when you stack shoulder over that flat part, you can lean without having to push and without using the pointy part, okay? So you always want the flat forearm making contact with your surface so that when you lean shoulder over forearm, it gives a nice solid contact. Let's start at the glute. There's two ways to do this. One is from the same side as the bended knee, the same side of your partner's body. The other is the opposite side, but I'll start on the same side. You can sit with the legs zigzag facing either direction. I want to use my right forearm in this case, so I'm gonna sit facing my partner's feet, and both of my feet are turned in the opposite direction. Proximal fifth of the forearm locks into my partner's gluteal tissue, and I just lean into it. Other hand can rest on partner's outer knee for support for me, and just nice comforting contact for them. I'm gonna lift, reposition slightly, lock, and then sink. Remember, we're not using the pointy part of the elbow. Unlock slowly, lock in a new position, and then lean to sink into it. Lean, rise out of it. Notice how my hand is actually pointing toward my partner's opposite leg so that my forearm can snug into the part of the hip in between the thigh and the hip. All right? Next, I move up to the low back. Find that meaty muscle tissue right above the pelvis, not the pointy part of the elbow. Make sure that the forearm is perpendicular to the spine here so that that part of the forearm can sink right into it. An important note, if you turn the palm up, then this softer, fleshier part of your forearm will be the contact point, and that tends to be a little more comfortable. Okay, so palm turns up, lock, and sink slowly into it. This is a sensitive spot and often a lot of tightness here, so move slowly. Can always ask your partner if it's a good spot. If it's not, they'll tell you. They'll help you find the right spot for them. At least 3 spots that might just be 1 centimeter apart because it feels totally different. And at least 3 breaths at each compression point, just to give your partner's body a chance to receive that compression. I'm going to move around to the other side. I like doing this side second because now I'm going to guide the tissue away from the spine and away from the sacrum at the back of the pelvis. So I'm going to use my left forearm in this case, and my forearm is parallel with the spine now. I'm going to lock into the tissue and then lean slightly toward my partner's bent knee. So again, I'm kind of distracting the tissue away from the sacrum. It can feel really good. Lock, find a good spot. Remember, you can always ask your partner. And then gently lean shoulder over forearm. And the more relaxed I am, the more my body communicates relaxation to my partner's body through this touch. Rise slowly, patiently, lock into a slightly different position, and sink with ease. Rise slowly. Next, we move up to the low back once again. My forearm turns perpendicular to the spine. Keep the other hand on the spine here because I don't want the pointy part of my elbow to touch against those bony processes. That just is really uncomfortable feeling. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me. So, other hand kind of like a protector. Forearm locks. And this time I sink down and then again toward my partner's bended knee, but slightly above it. So I'm locking and sinking downward and away from myself, guiding the muscular tissue away from the spine. Remember, at least a couple breaths at each compression point. And we rise slowly, reposition, even if it's just a centimeter. It's a whole different sensation. And just an important note here. I'm not on the spine, I'm not on the ribs, and I'm not on the pelvis. There's not a lot of space there, but there's some really important muscles there. And if you have tightness in your back, you'll know what I mean. Always communicate with your partner if you're not sure. They'll help you find the right spot for them. Lock, sink, and release. Thanks for watching.